What up, guys? Here to do some quick picks. Chris, here to do some quick predictions for UFC Fight Night 24 going down on Saturday night on Spike TV. Another pretty good show on paper. Free fights for the most part. I mean, everyone has cable nowadays, I imagine. So no complaints here. Although I will say these Spike shows, they do seem to run long with the commercials and stuff. I know that's what they got to do, but just the pace of them seems really slow at times. Hopefully we'll get a good night of fights, though. Just real quick predictions. Undercard. You got Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy taking on Mackin Semizer. I hope we get to see this bout. I think it'll be one of the most exciting of the night, if not the most. It's not scheduled to be shown, but I'm definitely going with Mackins in this one to win by probably decision. But it's gonna be a fast-paced, fun fight, I think. Leonard Garcia taking on a rematch between Chan Sung Young, the Korean Zombie. Leonard was originally slated to face Nam Phan in also a rematch. Both opponents, Leonard got controversial wins over, decision wins. Unfortunately for Nam, he got hurt. But fortunate for fans, as good as that Nam Phan Garcia fight was, I think the first fight between Garcia and Jung, the Korean Zombie, was even more exciting. And we're going to get the rematch. Jung didn't look so good in his last fight where he got knocked out in the head kick by George Rube. Leonard, he looked like Leonard in his last fight. Jung's been training with Team Alpha Male, Uriah Faber's team, the last couple of weeks. That should benefit him, but I don't think it's going to be necessary in this fight. I actually thought Jung deserved the decision in the first fight. I was at that fight. Thought he got robbed of a decision. Hard to say who's gotten better. Probably going to be a similar fight as the first one, I imagine. And if that's the case, I'll go with the Korean Zombie to get the rightful decision this time and pull out a win. Probably by split decision, though. There's always going to be one judge that's going to go for Garcia if it goes to a decision, regardless of how he looks. John Hathaway, Chris McCray. I don't even know if this is on the main card or not, but I got to go with Hathaway. McCray was on the Ultimate Fighter a couple seasons ago. He's a solid fighter. He's alright, but he just looks like he needs a lot more work to be complete. Hathaway, he's not a complete fighter just yet either. He looked pretty bad in his last fight, a decision loss to Mike Powell, but I think he has more upside, and I think he's a better fighter at the moment. So I'll go with John Hathaway to win this fight by decision, because McCray's pretty tough. Aaron Simpson taking on Mario Miranda. Both guys coming off losses. Originally was supposed to be... Oh, no, wait, that's my bad. But both guys coming off losses. Simpson, the better wrestler. More power in the hands. Miranda's more of a jiu-jitsu guy, although he got out just in his last fight against Damian Maia. Unless Simpson wins early by stoppage, I'm going to favor Miranda. Simpson seems to tire as the fight goes on. Miranda seems to hold up pretty well over 15 rounds. I think he can catch a tiring Simpson in a submission late. So I'll go with Mario Miranda to win this by sub somewhere in the third round. Amir Sadal taking on DeMarcus Johnson. Was originally supposed to be Amir Sadal versus Dwayne Bang Ludwig. That's the fight I was looking forward to. Both guys look pretty good on their feet. In their last fight, unfortunately, Bang got hurt. Then he was replaced by James Wilkes, who also got hurt. And now we got DeMarcus Johnson taking the fight on light notice. Should be a good stand-up fight still. I'm going to favor Sadala. Doesn't have the most power in his strikes, but as we've seen, DeMarcus doesn't have the sturdiest of chins. And DeMarcus is taking this on short notice. I don't know how prepared he is for this fight, particularly if it goes later, which I think it probably will. Should be competitive. I think it'll be a close bout, pretty even, but I think DeMarcus is not going to be able to hold up as well as the fight goes on without having a full training camp to prepare for the bout. So I'll go with Amir Sadala by decision. Co-main event of the night, Dan Hardy taking on Anthony Rumble Johnson, the Outlaw. Dan Hardy coming off the knockout loss to Carlos Condit. Anthony Johnson coming off the loss rear naked choke to Josh Koscheck back in November of 2009. Unfortunately for Anthony, he's had a knee injury since then. He's been out for a while. If you saw pictures or videos floating out there on the internet over the last year or so, he definitely put on a lot of weight. It's going to be interesting to see how he looks at the weigh-ins for this fight. But sounds like he's on track from what I've heard and read on his Twitter account. As for Dan Hardy, definitely looking to rebound from that loss to Condit, unexpected loss, especially the way it happened to him. Been training hard, it appears, as well. Johnson's a guy, he's in the mold of John Jones, very similar fighter, but just doesn't seem to be able to put it all together the way John Jones does. Every time I think Anthony Johnson's going to go and win a fight big, he ends up blowing it somehow, just not coming in fully prepared or just losing. Maybe he's just not that good of a fighter. I don't know, but I think he's got a lot of potential and he's got a high ceiling, but he just hasn't been able to reach his or maximize it just yet. As for Hardy, good fighter. Didn't show a whole lot against George St. Pierre, obviously, but before that he's looked good in the octagon. Stand-up, mostly based. I think Johnson's got the edge here. He's the bigger fighter, lengthier, speed. I think he's probably got a little bit more power. Maybe it's going to be close to call there, but I think Johnson's more well-rounded. I think if he takes this fight to the ground, I'll have an advantage there. with the better wrestling. It'll just be interesting to see, like I said, how Johnson's cardio holds up. I'm hoping it's a fight that consists mostly on the feet because these guys like to stand and trade, and I think it could be a really exciting fight if it does unfold in that area. But Johnson, as I said, does have the better wrestling to take this fight to the ground if he needs to or if he chooses to do so. I want to pick Anthony Johnson. I'm going to pick Anthony Johnson because I think that he has more advantages, and I think if he comes to this fight 100%, he could and should win. However, if he falters and ends up getting caught with a shot and taken out, or if he ends up gassing out midway through because of a big weight cut, I will not be surprised. So I'm going to go with Johnson to win this fight by decision, but if Dan Hardy is able to win by stoppage, of course, I will not be in no way surprised. Main event of the night, Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, Little Nog taking on Phil Superman Davis. Was originally supposed to be Nogueira against Tito Ortiz, but Tito Ortiz, as has been his MO over the last 5 years or so, got hurt before the bout. So, I actually like this replacement, though. I don't know whether Rogerio or Tito, who would have won, what that really says about them as a fighter, I don't think it would have had much of a impact on the future of their careers, moving forward in the light heavyweight division. Whereas Phil Davis, still a young undefeated fighter coming off a win over Tim Bosch, if he can get past Nogueira, that's his first real big test. And I think that'll, show that some of the potential that he has, some of the problems he has, going on in his career, potentially as a challenger down the road for John Jones. As for Nogueira, he's coming off the loss by decision to Ryan Bader. Bader just got the better of him. It looks somewhat similar to the Jason Brill's fight that Nogueira got the win in, where many thought he deserved to lose the fight. Phil, I mentioned he came off the win over Tim Bosch. Phil, for being a wrestler and a guy that hasn't been training mixed martial arts that long, he's got some pretty good instincts on the ground with submissions. That Kimura over Bosch was very unorthodox but effective, as well as he had a choke, I remember, in a fight last year. I forgot who it was, but I believe it was an anaconda choke, and it was just a very interesting technique that he used, that he already has that technique down at such an early stage in his career. As for this fight, I'm going to favor Phil Davis. As we saw in Nogueira's bouts against Bader and Brills, he has problems with superior wrestlers, and that's who he's running up to against in this fight. Phil Davis is by far the superior wrestler, the much fresher fighter as well. I don't know how good Phil is on the feet. I think Rogerio is better on the feet as of now, and of course Rogerio's got the submission game to give Phil trouble, because Phil hasn't really faced any real tough submission guys just yet. But I think if Davis studies the fights of Brills and Bader against Nogueira and goes with a similar game plan, he should be able to win this fight. I think he'll be able to take it down at will, control it there. May not be the most exciting main event or most entertaining. Hard to say. You never can tell. I anticipate a 15-minute fight, but I definitely think that Phil Davis is the favorite going into this bout, whether he's a last-minute or late replacement or not. And I think he's going to win this one by decision. Anyways, that's it for now. We talked about these fights along with the gang of other stuff, UFC 128 review and Bellator and a bunch of other stuff on yesterday's Science of Violence radio show. If you missed that, you can go back and check it out. I'll put a link to the show in the information part of the video as usual, as well as a link to my Twitter. Want to hear your guys' thoughts on this event, any fights you're looking forward to in particular. Are you glad that we're getting the Chan Sung Young rematch with Leonard Garcia as opposed to the Nam Fan fight, and who do you think is going to win that fight? Are you glad? Are you disappointed that Tito Ortiz is not in the main event against Nogueira? And I really want to hear people's thoughts on the Dan Hardy Anthony Johnson fight, because that's a fight I think could go either way, so I want to hear people's thoughts on that. And, just anything else in general pertaining to this card. That's it for now, guys. I may be back next, Saturday, Sunday, talk about these fights afterwards. Probably not. Usually don't do reviews for these Fight Night cards because they don't get as many views and stuff, but we'll see. But until next time, guys, I'm out.